So I've had a lot of friends recently try to quit smoking, whether it was vaping or nicotine, let's just say. These days, it seems to be more vaping than anything. Or ironically, they quit smoking and start vaping. They're just as hooked on vaping as they were on smoking, and it's a pretty terrible idea to try to switch from one vice to another. But me, I was a cigarette smoker. I smoked for I don't even know how long, like 15 years or something like that. I smoked for an extremely long time, big portion of my life. I was like a pack a day, pretty consistently kind of guy. I never went like too crazy with it, like a pack and a half on occasions when I was trying to smoke a little bit less, maybe like half a pack. But regardless, I was still smoking very consistently, and I have successfully, I would say, fully quit twice now using this technique. And you would think to yourself, well, like, if it's such a good technique, why'd you quit twice? Well, the second time I started smoking, it was like a very deliberate decision. Classic white boy thing where it's just like, well, my girlfriend broke up with me. I'm going to move to a new state and start smoking cigarettes again. And I gave myself an amount of time to smoke those cigarettes. I was like, I'm going to smoke cigarettes for 6 months and then quit again. And that's what I did. I smoked cigarettes for 6 months and I quit again. So I know it works because I did it twice. It also kind of reminds me of that Mark Twain quote where it's like, what did he say? He said, quitting smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I've done it 100 times, except for using the technique I'm going to give it to you. For me, it is the easiest way to make it more permanent. So if you're at that point in quitting cigarettes where you're no longer like, I want to quit, and you're at the I'm going to quit, that's a huge gap, even though they seem like they're right next to each other. If you're at the I'm going to quit, then yeah, this will make sense. But if you're like, I want to quit, it's probably going to fall on deaf ears. Death. Oh, maybe death. I don't know. It depends on how long you've been smoking. You're probably just going to forget about this video by the time you go to quit, because that's a pretty big gap. Wanting to quit, I mean, I feel like most people want to quit almost the second that they start. But when you sit down, you're like, I'm going to. So if you're there, this is for you. So I know that AA meetings, they use, from what I understand, I've never gone to AA, but it seems like they're kind of like religious-esque heavy. And though this technique seems to be a derivative of like religious whatever, it's not like an actual religious thing. But this is what I did to quit, and it is a very good strategy to get a hold on your own. I would almost call it like your like no button, not no button, just your no button. And this is how I did it. And keep in mind that I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a scientist. I don't, everyone's body's different, so it might be different for what you do versus what I did. And so what I did to get better at saying no to myself is I said no to myself for things that I need, not things that I want. Because smoking a cigarette is something that I want, that maybe my body's trying to convince me that I need, but we all know that you don't actually need to inhale poisonous smoke or poisonous vapor, whichever terrible one you decide. So what I did was I used fasting. And the type of fasting that I used was for the first day one, and you're probably gonna want to do this on a weekend. I'm sure most people who watch this are weekend warriors, so you're gonna have to give up a weekend probably, because I did it when I was still going to work, and I immediately regretted it. Lucky for me, I did it on a Thursday, and Friday is a half day for me, so it ended up not being the worst ever, but I definitely was not that stoked on it, especially during lunchtime. But anyways, day one, no food, no water. Your body can survive, I think it's like a couple days without water, and then your body can survive like 3 weeks without food. Don't worry, we're not going that far. It's not some gnarly fast, don't worry. But in doing this, I got a lot better at saying no. Even in the first day, like, it's so easy to like try to have little cheats. You know what I mean? Like, just like, well, it's water, and I'm thirsty. I need it. I've been sweating. But no, as long as your body is like healthy enough to handle this, which most bodies are, you are very much built to last a lot longer than this. But it does already, like, day one seem kind of like, oh man, this is kind of intense. Like, this feels not great. But first day, you also can't smoke during this period. Second day, I allowed myself to drink water. The first thing I did when I woke up was not a lot, because, I don't want to like flood my body out. I just had like a cup of water and I sipped it for a little while, and I did no food for the entire second day, but I was allowed to drink water. And you will find yourself drinking meals with water. You're gonna just be like, oh, like I need, to have something in my stomach. That empty stomach feeling really sucks. But once again, as this process is going, you will be even more tempted the second day to, have like a potato chip or something, have some sort of flavor. That was a big one for me. It was like, I just wanted some freaking flavor in my mouth that wasn't water. And you just got to say no to yourself. And as you're doing this, what's good about it is I feel like a lot of people, when they try to quit smoking, they try to do this distraction thing, whereas instead of like dealing with like, I got to say no to smoking, they distract themselves with other things, whether, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't use these techniques after you go through this process, but like, oral fixations and stuff like that. And like sort of just, like for me, I use toothpicks. Toothpicks was a good one for me. But I think that on its own is only a distraction, and it doesn't help you deal with the saying no. It's only like, you're almost like bait and switching yourself. And that I feel like that's not like a great long-term solution. Especially since the fact that, you're probably going to have cravings for the rest of your life, much like I do. So yeah, day 2, no food. Day 3, I went to day 4 with no food. You don't have to do that. I feel like day 3 should be satisfactory. Get to the end of day 3. But I got to the end of day 4 with no food and just drinking water. And let me tell you, if you can make it that far, which isn't probably that gnarly for a lot of people, but for me it was, I got so good at saying no to myself. Like, and you haven't eaten and you've only been drinking water for a while, the last thing you want is a cigarette. Like I remember thinking about smoking a cigarette I think like near the end of day 3. And I remember just being like, it sounds disgusting. Like, I'm so hungry, and then to fill my body with something that's going to be like that just sounds awful. Now, granted, when you go back to eating, it might sound pretty nice again, especially after that first big meal. Because I was a big, after I eat, I'd love to smoke a cigarette. So day 4, that's how far I made it. And you can't just like go like indulge really crazy. I was also like very specific about like practicing it right out the gate. So the first thing I did was I went to Olive Garden and I just got a soup. I got a chicken gnocchi soup, and it's free refills with breadsticks. And I did not eat unlimited breadsticks. I just had the soup, and I sat there, and I could taste each ingredient like separately. It was like, oh, it was so delicious. And like, Olive Garden's not like the worst restaurant in the world, but it ain't exactly like the top tier restaurant. And it tasted like a 5-star restaurant. I was just like, this is unbelievable. Food is so good. I forgot how great food was. And it was like 4 days. But anyways, when it came time after that meal to want to smoke that cigarette, since I had just got done saying no to myself for water, which is really difficult to do even for a day, and food for 4 days, it was so much easier. Like, it was almost like a relief on how just like, oh no. Like, don't get me wrong, the craving's just as intense. Like, you want it just as bad, but your no is that much stronger. Your no is like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to distract myself. I'm going to face this head on and be like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to have a cigarette. And that strength of the no that it created lasted me, till now. With smoking cigarettes, I still have dreams about smoking, and I still get cravings all the time. And it's like, it only gets easier and easier to say no, especially, and I think this is the hardest time to quit, is when, something bad happens and you just want to spoil yourself in a way, but by like hurting yourself, because I think, when you're really sad, we all get a little bit, self-destructive, and like a cigarette's like a really subtle way to do that. That's one of the harder ones to continue to say no, because it's probably human nature. I don't know, like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but I will definitely say that is the worst time to give in. Don't do that, because even when I did that for the 6 months that I did it, where I was just like, I broke up with a girl, I want to start smoking again, it was just as annoying to quit the second time. It was definitely easier than any other time that I ever tried to quit on my own, but it still sucks. So just try your hardest not to go back. I hope this helped you. I know that this isn't like the super quick fix thing or whatever, but this 100% has value. I think there is true value in controlling your like own desires and wants in fasting. I think fasting is a really good process to go through at least once in your life. Definitely try it. I also recommend living in a car for a little bit. That's also really fun. I'll make another video about that, because I lived in a car for 4 years. That was great. But anyways, that is my tips and tricks to how I quit smoking. It's helped some of my friends. Hopefully it'll help you. If not, I'm sorry for wasting 10 minutes of your time, probably. Most of the other stuff on this channel will be kind of random stuff, but maybe I'll talk more about these kind of things that I've learned and lessons and glee-bitty-glah. But anyways, if you like this video, subscribe. There'll be other stuff that's probably nothing like this and some stuff that will be like this. And if you, for whatever reason, happen to be a skater, go to my other channel. It's the much bigger channel. That's how I make a living. It's my skateboarding channel. But yeah, go check that out. There's a bunch of really good skaters on there.